Today on the Dugs, we're going to continue our half-drunk Sports Center-inspired production of the Franchise Cup. We'll be using old video clips to bring you the highlights of our simulated round robin between the all-time versions of the Astros, Rangers, Expos, and Reds. If that's not enough, we're also going to tell you about possibly the worst baseball website currently on the internet. We'll drop some knowledge that will most likely alienate the entirety of the Cincinnati Reds fan base, always a strong strategy when your success depends on general popularity. And we're going to call our shot and say we're going to legitimately weave in a couple of anecdotes about furries and dog nipples into proper baseball discourse, amidst much, much more. I've seen that next video in your queue, and it's not their best work. So keep it right here because the Dugs have uploaded a new video. Welcome back to the Dugs, where everything we do is an excuse to tell a lot of baseball stories and a lot of jokes. As previously stated, this is part of our Franchise Cup series, but since we'll be showing you the highlights for the entirety of this group's round robin, you'll have no issue watching this as a standalone. That said, if you want to check out these videos in order, go check out the Franchise Cup playlist. Let's get right into it. We're going to start right in on the rivalry. These teams do not like one another. Rangers manager Jeff Bannister once tried to make the point that they've got Houston put on their chest. We get to put Texas on ours. Astros pitcher Lance McCullers Jr. made an excellent retort that it's because nobody knows what Arlington is. Additionally, Nolan Ryan seems to have spit right in the Astros' eye, completely forgoing the spittoon in the corner. Despite playing 9 seasons with the Astros, he's sporting a Texas cap on his Hall of Fame plaque, where he only played 5. And I guess we're just completely ignoring the Dugs' decision to put him on the Angels squad, where he played 8 years and racked up a WAR that was 15 points superior to his time with the Astros despite playing 1 fewer year. Oh well, it's high noon and a tumbleweed just blew by my desk. Let's get it on. Alex Bregman draws first blood in the first inning, racking up 2 RBIs with this single, but Juan Gonzalez gets one back in the bottom of the second with a solo home run. Looks like we might have a shootout, and this town ain't big enough for the both of us. Okay, so a little behind the scenes call out here. That's the 5th time I've tried saying that line, and that's as good as it's going to get. Pretty much everything has sounded like a mix between Hank Hill and, you remember Ernest? Yep. That guy. Anyhow, immediately upon returning to the plate the next inning, Cesar Cedeno yanks away the 1-run ball game by hitting the first pitch he sees out of the park. And so we're back to 3-1 Astros. So we're off to a blistering pace, but then the pitchers decide to get in on the fun. Mike Scott got the start for the Astros today, and it's been a rough start thus far, but he starts to turn things around in the 4th. He'll see 3 men in the inning, and Josh Hamilton goes down on strikes. Juan Gonzalez goes down on strikes, and worry not OCD fans of the Dugs, he completes the strikeout of the side with Ruben Sierra going down. Unfortunately for the Stros, however, Kevin Brown has also called his tits and strikes out Jeff Bagwell in the 6th en route to another scoreless inning. Mike Scott says, "That's cute. In case you were in the bathroom last time I did it, here's another side of Juan Gonzalez, Ruben Sierra, and Ian Kinsler striking out." After the early trouble, Mike Scott is untouchable. A lot of the pitcher's success can be attributed to Roger Craig. Protect your carrots. We're going down a rabbit hole. So Roger Craig likely had one of the most effective split-finger fastballs of his era, but he also had a great mind for the game, as seen by his sudden appointment to the managerial position of the San Diego Padres. He was known for bringing the term hum baby to the forefront. A hum baby is a player who's not necessarily talented, but he's going to be mediocre while giving you 200%. His most important role is to pump up the rest of his infinitely more talented teammates, sometimes via things yelled from the dugout. Think, hey, better, so wing better. I'll be honest, when I decided to do a tangent on this piece, I figured I was going to find some dugout chants that had slipped my attention and share them with you. In my attempts to do that, I stumbled across this gem of a website. Now, I'm not going to mention the address of this site because as far as I know, and boy do I hope that this is the case because wow. Perhaps this is actually a student project of some innocent 6-year-old out there? If that's the case, kudos to this kid for charming the Google algorithm, as I didn't really have to dig very deep to find it. Anyhow, this site would have you believe that the following are top shelf things you can save from the bench. Can't be at number 2, and we are going to beat the whoopsie out of you. Hey pitcher, tie your shoes, cause Michael gonna hit you right over you. Concentrate, pitch that ball, make that player strike at the plate. Okay, off that tangent and scaling back into another one, just because it's too good of a story not to mention. One of Roger Craig's favorite hum babies was Brad Golden, who was a player famously known for being traded for himself. On November 18th, 1980, the Yankees sent Golden in cash to the Mariners for infielder Larry Milbourne and a player to be named later. On May 18th, 1981, Seattle sent that player to be named later to New York, who was, you guessed it, Brad Golden. Anyhow, despite putting up great results, teams weren't willing to pay Craig for any extended period of time to be their manager, and thus he focused mostly on being a pitching coach, where he was more than happy to pass on his knowledge of the split finger to pitchers, and one of those pitchers was Mike Scott, who used the pitch to go from a middling starter to a Cy Young winner and inside striker-outer as we had just seen. Let's see some more. We arrive in the bottom of the ninth at the same score of 3-1. Billy Wagner comes on to try and close it out, but Elvis Andrus shuts down the notion of an easy exit immediately. This home run makes it 3-2, and things are getting interesting. What makes it more interesting is this Juan Gonzalez single with a man on first, making it first and third with one out, and Billy Wagner goes wild and Texas ties it up. Wagner does eventually get out of it, but we are off to extra innings. We hit the bottom of the 11th on the back of Astros Octavio Dotel, holding the Rangers scoreless in the 10th, but Joe Sambito has less luck. Josh Hamilton looks at exactly one pitch in his at-bat, the first one of the inning, and sends it into the stands for the first walk-off home run of the Franchise Cup. The Rangers take it down 4-3 on the back of a strong performance from Kevin Brown and the Rangers bullpen. After those initial runs he surrendered, he ended his day at 7 innings pitched, 3 runs surrendered, and 6 strikeouts. After that, the combination of Jose Guzman, Derek Holland, and Francisco Cordero held the Astros hitless for 4 innings. On to the second half of Game 1. Canadians are known for their polite demeanor, but if I were an Expo, I'd be out for blood after being unceremoniously screwed out of my existence. How fortuitous that they sink their teeth into the color red in their first excursion. The Cincinnati Reds, to be exact, who represent the oldest franchise in the group, having originated in 1882. Javier Vasquez takes the mound for the Spos, and well, crap. Joe Morgan gets this one kicked off by leading the game off with a solo home run. All is not lost, however, as that's all the Reds will get in the first. The Expos start to fight back in the second. It's Noodles Hahn on the bump for the Reds, and you know I dug into where this guy got his name from. The thing is, even Noodles doesn't really know where he got his name from, but it's not because it's such an obscure name, it's because there are so many reasons he could be called Noodles. Such was the strength of the relationship to the carbohydrate. Option number 1. When he was a kid, he always used to bring his father's lunch to him, which was comprised almost exclusively of, noodles. Option number 2. One of his earliest occupations was selling his mother's homemade noodle soup. Option number 3. Another task he took upon himself was delivering noodle soup to a neighbor that was less well off. And lastly, option number 4, he just really liked noodles. It's just really noodles all the way down with this guy. First 2 men of the inning strike out, but singles out of Tim Wallach and Orlando Cabrera keep the inning alive for Andre Dawson, and Dawson's gonna tie the game up with this RBI single. Blood in the water. Gary Carter smells it. This is a 3-run home run to catapult the Expos into the lead by 3. But wait, there's more. A Bob Bailey double is followed by a Tim Wallach single, and the Expos are up 5-1 by the end of the 3rd inning. Tim Wallach's actually having himself a game. This will be the 3rd time we're mentioning him, and it's because he's bringing home another run with a single to make it 6-1. And Javier Vasquez was just giving the Reds a tease in the 1st inning with that leadoff home run, because that's all they get off of him. He's still in the 7th, striking out Pete Rose, and he's still in the 8th, striking out Heine Groh. In the end, he goes 7 1/3, only surrendering 4 hits and striking out 9, which allows the Expos to get out of the gate strong against arguably their toughest opponent in the group, beating the Reds with the final score of 7-1. We talked about Tim Wallach's fine day, but Jose Vidro was an unsung hero for the Expos, going 4 for 5 with 2 runs, whereas all Bob Bailey knew how to do was hit doubles, putting up 3 of them. Let's keep it right here on the Expos as they look to make a statement and go 2-0 out of the gate. They're taking on the Astros in the 2nd game, who dropped their first game in an extra inning heartbreaker. The Reds opened their tourney by hitting a leadoff run against the Spos, and now Montreal would like to return the favor. Sacre bleu! Tim Raines connects in the top of the 1st, and they're out to an early lead. Astros fire back with a leadoff double from Lance Berkman in the 2nd, and he comes home on a Jason Castro single later that inning. Tie game. Back and forth we go. Expos are on a roll to start the 3rd. After the inning kicked off with a single and a double, Jose Vidro brings both of those runners home on a single, and it's 3-1 Expos. They're poutine on a show and looking to shock everyone. Not so fast, though. Just an inning later, this is George Springer going for a double to score Lance Berkman. Berkman's having a big game so far. It's a big old game for Big Fat Elvis. Actually, he stated that he'd rather be known as a Puma due to his game being athletic, agile, and sleek. This one actually gained a little traction as a fan section emerged called the Little Pumas. Here's a picture. I know what you're thinking, and I have answers. Yes, Houston does have a furry convention, and it's called Stratusfur. Next one kicks off at the end of May 2024 and features the artist who produced this piece of art. Once again, know what you're thinking. Yes, those are pieces of tape on the dog's nipples, but the fact that there are only 2 nipples is just flat out inaccurate. Dogs can have on average between 8 to 10 nipples. Fascinating fact. I'm giving that range because even dogs of the same breed frequently have a varying number of nipples, as there's no real set number. I've totally forgotten what my YouTube channel is about. Baseball, right. The pitching calms down, and the 3-2 Expo advantage lasts all the way until the 8th inning, the credit going to Expos star Steve Rogers. It's not Rogers in the 8th, however. The new Expos pitcher is Mike Marshall, and a 2-out Jason Castro double is going to tie the game up, and that score will hold until extras. Astros love the drama. 2 games, 2 sets of extra innings. The Rangers were able to beat them in the Battle of Texas partially thanks to a Billy Wagner wild pitch. Wagner's too good to balls it up twice, right? Indeed. He gets Ron Hunt to fly out to end the 10th, and the Astros get their chance in the bottom half. Get out your Puma costumes. We're going to Stratosphere. You go a bunch of games without a walk-off home run, and this group has given us 2 already. So the Astros are going to pull even with the Expos at 1-1 thanks to Berkman's big day. He scored 3 of the team's 4 runs, going 2 for 4 with a double, that walk-off home run, and a base on balls for good measure. George Springer and Jason Castro picked up 4 hits in aggregate and drove the other 3 runs of the game home. Moving on, we have the same situation in our second game too. A 1-0 squad and the Rangers are looking to claim the top spot in the group, while Cincinnati needs a win after dropping their opener to the Expos. The Reds pitcher might not be a household name, but Dolph Luque strikes out the side here in Buddy Bell, Pudge Rodriguez, and Adrian Beltre. You see, our man has the number 18 at the front of his birth year, so the glow may have worn off a bit. It's a miracle he made the Reds at all, as his was the era where dark-skinned players were not allowed into the league. Dolph was from Cuba, but was light-skinned enough to not trip Cap Anson's Negro alarm. They still knew where he was from, however, and several players liked to let him hear all about it from the safety of the bench. Jackie Robinson would come much later to break the color barrier, and one item that's always been noted about him was his ability to turn the other cheek. Whenever racial epithets were hurled towards him, he'd stomach it, making a nice little rage ball in the pit of his stomach that the movie dramatized like this. Dolph didn't have those problems. One day, Giants outfielder Bill Cunningham was doing the typical go back to where you came from routine, and Dolph Luque stopped mid-wind-up, calmly placed his glove and ball neatly down on the side of the mound, and went on an all-out kamikaze run into the Giants' dugout. He missed Cunningham completely with his swing, but he managed to clock Casey Stengel pretty good, which, if this picture is any indication, he probably had it coming anyhow. Luque was naturally ejected, but amidst the bench-clearing brawl that ensued, he returned to the field and wielded his bat like a war club. It eventually took 4 police officers to finally get him off the field. Unfortunately, he's more remembered for this story than the fact he won the ERA title twice, and we're seeing why today. Ted Kluszewski is going to pay off that fine pitching and put the Reds ahead with a 2-run homer in the 3rd inning, and 2 batters later, like all 4 of his wives, this ball off of Johnny Bench's bat is a goner. 3-0 Reds. Luque at least starts to give the Rangers hope that he may be a human Cuban when Juan Gonzalez gets him for a double. 1 batter later, Ruben Sierra puts runners on the corners with a single, and maybe someone in the crowd said something because this wild pitch is going to allow the Rangers their first run of the game. That's as much as he would give them, however. Luque is still in the 9th and strikes out Adrian Beltre. That's his 14th strikeout of the day, one of the best totals we've seen put up here at the Dugs. Jim Maloney comes in to get the final 2 outs of the ballgame to wrap the thing up, and for the first time in this tourney, all of our teams sit even with one another at 1-1 going into the 3rd and final game. That makes things simple. The winners of our next 2 matchups will advance, while the losers go home. Before we see who that is, however, let's return to our time-honored tradition of looking at channels with more subscribers than us. Today we're going to feature a channel we're actually sneaking up on in terms of viewership. Channel's name is Bus Button. We're going to break all of YouTube's rules and show you one of his videos nearly in its entirety. 5 stars. Can't argue with the content, does right what it says on the tin, including giving fans of the art of bus button pushing a chance to shine. For his efforts, he's nearly doubled my subscriber count, weighing in at 900 while we've got a little over 480. Don't let the Dugs be stopped by the stop button. Please consider getting a free subscription to the channel, liking the video, and letting us know your thoughts in the comments, because we just like to chat it out with you all. Doing those things is the most surefire way of getting others to notice us and grow the channel. Okay, back to the games. Do or or die for the Astros, and Alex Bregman does it. With 2 outs in the first and men on first and second, Bregman comes up with a clutch base hit and makes it 1-0 Astros early. In the bottom half, the Reds have an opportunity to fight right back. Man on third with no outs, and it looks like the wonderfully named Heine Groh gets this one deep enough to drive the run home, but Cesar Cedeno is having none of that. That rocket of a throw saves the lead, and it actually allows the Astros to grow their lead to 2 in the second on this fielder's choice out of Craig Biggio. UL Blackwell settles down after that, however. The Reds are just full of pitchers that could say the word haberdashery and not be out of place. In fact, here's the old chap striking at the side in the 5th by K'ing Cesar Cedeno, Lance Berkman, and Alex Bregman. And that quality bit of pitching allows Johnny Bench to clock his second home run of qualifiers and tie it up at 2-2. That was a 6th inning shot, and all the Reds would get that inning. So we're looking at dusk in this group, and nothing has been decided yet. Both sides hold serve until the 9th. Barry Larkin doubles the lead off the Reds half, much to the delight of Reds fans everywhere. Well, we can't have that, Ohio. Gotta bring you guys down a peg. Turns out, Barry Larkin, despite playing every year of his 19-year career for the Reds, and despite being born in the Cincinnati city limits, yeah, that Cincy legend put Shea in one of his kids' names because he liked playing at Mets Shea Stadium that much. No explanation for that. Maybe they acquired the naming rights in the offseason to top off the $423 million spending spree they put into play. So the Reds have a huge opportunity, and they waste no time taking advantage. Joe Cimbito comes in to relieve Houston's Octavio Dotel and surrenders 2 hits in the 9th, and that will be the end of the ball game and the end of the tourney for the Astros. The group was remarkably balanced, as qualifying was anything but a walk in the park for the Reds. Not a single player on the roster clocked in at over a 300 average, and even Johnny Bench, who netted himself 2 dingers, didn't do much beyond that, ending his qualifying stage with a 222 average. And so the Reds move on. Let's see who's going to join them. The Expos' Jeff Fassero and the Rangers' Bobby Witt don't budge for the first 3 innings. Fassero keeps it going in the 4th when he gets Rafael Palmeiro and Josh Hamilton to strike out and to start the inning. But Juan Gonzalez flips the script with a single, and Ruben Sierra's double makes things interesting. Ian Kinsler's up next, and the ball's pants might have been falling down because he just belted it for a 3-run home run. True gentleman, that Kinsler. Except when it comes to everyone's favorite umpire, Angel Hernandez. Kinsler was fined for publicly saying that Angel should probably find a new job. Now, I don't know where in the world Kinsler gets off saying that about Angel. I mean, he's clearly one of the best umpires of all time, and rarely gets it wrong. It's just a complete lack of professionalism on Kinsler's part for saying such a thing. The umpire's response to the slight was just precious. They went full charitable foundation. Following Kinsler's inflammatory and entirely inaccurate statements, the umpires banded together and started wearing some of those popular rubbery benefit bracelets in support of their fallen, besmirched comrade. They couldn't even agree on what color to wear. Some of them wore white, some of them wore black, and the jury is still out whether they read "What Would Angel Do" or not. Although if you were doing what Angel does, you'd probably never find your way to the ballpark. Look, I'm sure umpiring is an incredibly difficult job, but if you're going to turn in umps scorecards that look like this, you're not making a strong case to keep the robots out of baseball. Oh well, we're all going to be replaced eventually anyhow. That little blip was all the offense until the 7th. After Kinsler makes his way to second, Ivan Rodriguez singles to make the advantage 4 runs. In the bottom of the inning, the Expos finally scratch one out to make it 4-1 on this Ron Hunt double. Bob Bailey follows him in the 8th with an RBI single to get the lead down to 2, and so it's not over yet. Expos haven't given up anything in the interim, so that is our score going into the bottom of the 9th. Marquise Grissom leads off the inning with a double, so the tying run comes to the plate. Texas brings in their closer, Francisco Cordero, and he gets the next 2 men out, but in order to put this one away, he's going to have to take out Vlad Guerrero. Vlad gets a hold of this one, and is it deep enough? No! So close and yet so far. Expos are eliminated. Rangers move on thanks in part to the huge game by Ian Kinsler. In addition to the big 3-run shot to secure the game, he also scored 2 runs, racked up an additional 2 hits, and stole a base. That 3-run home run was enough on its own to bring it home for the Rangers, and that's credit to Bobby Witt's performance, going 6 1/3 and striking out 7 while only surrendering 1 earned run. Let's take a look at what that does to the standings. We're about to spoil the prior groups for you, so if that's something you want to be surprised about, turn back now and check out our Franchise Cup playlist. Okay, we good? With that win, Texas creeps into the top 2 of the group, but the Reds will be group champs on account of their head-to-head win against the Rangers, meaning they will automatically make it into the second round. On the other hand, the Rangers clock in near the bottom of the second place qualifiers, so they are in serious jeopardy of being one of those play-in teams. We'll find out a lot more about those play-in games in our next Franchise Cup video. With the 6th group approaching, we're going to lock in who the first play-in team will be. Will it be the Pirates, or will it be one of these 4 squads from our next group in Group F, which features the White Sox, Minnesota Twins, Oakland A's, and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Once again, if you enjoyed what you saw today, please consider giving us a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel, and leaving us some comments, as that's the most surefire way the Dugs are going to become a thing. And as always, I've been Johnny Paprika, hoping all of your balls are fair and all of your wood is good. Good night, everybody. It's high noon and the tumbleweed just blew my desk.